Hey guys, this is my second video. As you can see, it's me again, right back to back, because I'm posting two videos at once because, you like want a little more of me. So, we're gonna talk about like mental health spreads because this was kind of the whole point for me to do my bullet journal. I just started therapy and there are a lot of mental health spreads out there and things like that, and I am not an advocate for doing bullet journaling instead of therapy. I think it really works best when you're doing it at the same time that you're doing therapy, or starting your bullet journal kind of before therapy so you know like where your mood swings are. Like it's the whole point of doing like these mood trackers and stuff. So with that out of the way, and I'm not a therapist. If you are having problems, like go to a therapist. Like they're the best. Find a good one, but they're the best. Um, so for me specifically, the sleep tracker was very important. And this is just kind of like how I had it laid out in November. If you saw my previous video, you know that I had to carry it over to the next page. But I have a problem with hypersomnia. Um, 9 hours is my usual. Like I don't beat myself up for 9 hours. Every now and then I've had to sleep 7 or 7.5 hours. But like the day after, like it's like 10 hours. Um, and especially in December, now that like I'm kind of out of class and everything, like I have consistently been getting between 9 and 11 hours this month. uh, don't beat yourself up over it, you're tracking it for a reason. um yeah, and this habit tracker for this month, I did the gingham thing because like I lose track of it this way and that way. So it looks cute this way at least. But my first month, November, yes, I'm new to this. By the way, I'm not a professional. I'm not selling you stamps and stickers, but my first month, I just had a few things and like I listed them out in the previous video, but I just tracked a few things to just see if this was something that was gonna like work for me. I didn't want to do a whole page and then like get overwhelmed. I sometimes get easily overwhelmed by things, but I ended up absolutely loving it. So I did the full page. I have everything on here. I have whether or not I did calligraphy, since I knew that this was going to be a month where I wasn't in class. I put all of my crafting things. I put calligraphy, knitting, fiber arts, spinning. So anything that I do with that, I can track it. I put video games on here, which I'm not going to do for, my semesters, but pleasure reading, again, like the fiction writing, because that is my major. I also put on here whether or not I rode my bike, and like that's like I don't have a car, so like whether I even like just rode the bike down the block to the store or not, that counts. It totally counts. Whether or not I had a panic attack, especially like finals were this first week, and you can see like I studied the whole beginning of the month. It was ridiculous. Um, and there's a lot of anxiety during finals, so I put whether or not I had a panic attack. But I also put like whether or not I brushed my cat. Like I have a really fluffy cat and he needs some self-care too. And of course I have all of my self-care stuff, face care, wore makeup. I also put on here whether or not I wore contacts that day. Because some days I don't wear contacts, some days I do. Like right now I'm wearing my contacts because I'd be like super blind. But you get it. Like you can track anything that you want. And with habit trackers, like if there's something you do that may or may not be healthy, but you might need to track it for your therapist, like whether or not you purge or something like that, like put it on your habit tracker. But if it makes you uncomfortable to put that on your habit tracker, I totally understand. Like I developed the candle method for myself and my own thing. Um, the candle method. Basically, like whether you do something that you don't necessarily like want to write down, it might make you uncomfortable to write down, oh, I purged today, or oh, I cut today, or like whatever little like unhealthy thing that you might do, just put a flame on that candle so that you know that you did it that day without, potentially being triggered by the fact that you did it if it's something really complicated. Um, if you have like really bad OCD and you completely like obsessed out over something, like, I don't know, making 12 tiny envelopes last night. We'll do that video soon. But yeah, like you can just put a little flame on your candle and you can keep track of that. Um, you could put the flame on your candle if you drank alcohol. Maybe that's something that you want to track, but you don't necessarily want to put it on your habit tracker and like people might think you're an alcoholic or something. You can also use the candle method for that as well. And that's why I do the candles. That's why I do the candles. Whenever I did my candles, I was kind of this is whenever I first started doing this, and I was kind of freaking out a lot. So I wanted to track specifically, and this is why I did the 3 candles a day. It wasn't just to have my morning, noon, and night moods. It was to have that habit tracked with the flames on the candles to track whether I did that thing in the morning, noon, or night. Now that we have like the basic mental health spreads out of the way, I did draw the feel wheel. You can paste it, you can print it and paste it if you want. Um, and underneath my feel wheel, I just put a little minimalist quote. Feelings are just visitors. Let them come and go by Muji. Probably fucked his name up, but it's a good quote. Over here, like I just found some little journaling exercises on Pinterest and I decided to write them down. Here, I actually did a week of mindfulness. And I did it in a chart style because like I like charts. It's easy to look at, easy to read, and you can see that I didn't always keep up with this bottom one. But I'm just gonna run through which ones they were. This one was 3 things you did right. Sometimes whenever we get a little overwhelmed, it's easy to think about the things that we did wrong and the repercussions. So this was really good for me. This little line was, who was kind to you today? That's why it's just one little line. Um, what was the prevailing truth of your day? Very insightful. It's a mindfulness exercise. You can be as extra or not as you want. I decided to go for extra. How did you relax today? What inspired you today? And I did get a little snarky on this one over here. I put deadlines. My deadlines inspired me to get the work done that I needed to fucking do. Because I procrastinate really bad. It all happens. What made you happy today? And then down here, the big one. This was a really big exercise for me to take on myself. What did your intuition tell you today? And did you listen? So sometimes whenever we grow up in, abusive homes as children, we're kind of taught not to trust ourselves, that we need to trust our parents because our parents know what's best for us and all of those ugly details. And it can have a lasting effect on whether or not you trust your own gut feeling and whether or not you trust yourself. It can manifest itself in so many different ways. And there are a lot of YouTube videos out there on, the effects of childhood trauma. So I figured since that was one of my issues, I would do it. And there were days that I was like I opened this up and I was like, oh my God, like today this, today that, and some days I just absolutely didn't have my intuition tell me anything. It was just a normal day. So maybe not good for weekly, but for my week of mindfulness, it it worked. Like I was very proud of this little chart. I'm thinking about doing one anytime I feel really stressed. I'm gonna leave a page and I'm gonna make sure I don't do what I did in November and skip ahead and start doing December before I even finish November, because if I have a tough, really emotionally tough week, I am going to bring this back and I'm gonna do a mindfulness week. Um, and of course, I'm going to change these. They're not going to be the same. Whatever I'm dealing with specifically, I'll tailor my mindfulness week to what I'm going through and what I want to focus on. But the who was kind to you today, How did you relax today? Three things you did right today. Those things are all very good to keep you from sinking too far down. To just remind yourself that you're a good person and you're doing your best. Live on. Um, so here behind the Dutch door, I mentioned before that it was something that was triggering, but this kind of came from something that my therapist asked me to do a little homework on. And she asked me to think about how I wish I was treated. And that led me to compare and contrast how I was treated as a child by certain members of my family versus how I am treated now by them. And then over here, like what they do now, what they did then, like make it semi-comparable. Um, so just for an example, my sister's rejecting me and bullying me. Well, the comparable thing here, now that we're all adults, is like my sister's reaching out to me, trying to connect with me. And then over here in brackets, I have just a one word emotion of how I felt. And this is where the feel wheel over here comes in really handy, is that you can link an exact, concise word, put it in those brackets. And sometimes your feelings are so complicated that like you need two words in your bracket. And and that was really good for me, but I don't always want to look at it, so I put it behind a Dutch door. And then over here, I put my needs and my desires, because sometimes it's hard to differentiate those things, what you need versus what you desire. And of course, I ran out of space. Like, or no, I didn't run out of space. I had too much space. So I did um just little like affirmations here and an affirmation here. You are enough. You are enough. That's like my mantra. It turns out that I am also not very good at planning my YouTube videos because my mental health spread section got way too long, and I'm having to cut the video in half. So this will be the part one, and I really hope that you enjoyed it and you check out the part two. Coming at you soon.